My son's scream didn't hit me all at once. It came in a delayed, sharp echo, the kind that drags a mother's heart out of her chest one beat at a time. We were at Maple Ridge Park, late afternoon, the sky dipped in orange, the smell of cut grass mixing with the metallic rattle of rusty swings. I had just sat on a bench, letting the sun warm my shoulders, watching my boy, Mason, laugh as he pumped his small legs like he was trying to kick himself into the clouds. He was 8, a gentle kid, the kind who apologized to chairs if he bumped into them. And then I saw her, my sister, Brooke. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video, walking across the mulch with that slow, entitled strut like the world was made for her convenience. Her daughter, Lily, trailed behind her, pouting in her designer jacket. Brooke looked polished as always, glossy hair, sunglasses pushed to the top of her head, lips pursed like she smelled something rotten. I didn't move at first. I thought maybe they were just heading toward the slide or the monkey bars, but Brooke made a straight line for the swing set, right toward Mason. I stood halfway up when I saw her place her perfectly manicured hand between the chains. "Get off," she said flatly. Mason looked confused. I'm still swinging. My daughter wants it." Brooke tilted her head. "Move." I stepped forward. "Brooke, there are 2 other swings." "They squeak," she said without looking at me. "Lily doesn't like squeaky things. You know she's sensitive." Sensitive. Lily was many things. Sensitive wasn't one of them. "Mom," Mason called out, nervous now. "I'm using it." Brooke let out a dramatic sigh like the universe existed solely to inconvenience her. Then, in one sudden, deliberate shove, not an accident, not a stumble, but a shove with force, she pushed the swing forward just as Mason leaned back. His body flew. His hands slipped from the chains. He hit the mulch hard, a dull thud that made my breath stop. "Hey!" I shouted, sprinting toward him. But Brooke didn't even blink. Lily stepped forward, climbing onto the swing like stepping over my son was nothing. Mason curled on his side, whimpering, clutching his elbow. "What is wrong with you?" I yelled, kneeling beside him. Brooke finally shrugged. He should have moved when he was told. "He's 8, I snapped. She smirked. "And?" Lily asked first. "No, she didn't," I said. Brooke rolled her eyes. "I implied it. Same thing." I lifted Mason gently. His elbow was scraped raw, dirt stuck to the blood, his bottom lip trembling. "Are you hurt anywhere else?" He nodded, tears spilling silently. He wasn't a loud crier. He held pain like he thought he deserved it. My stomach twisted. "You pushed him," I said, standing now, shaking. "You could have broken something." Brooke crossed her arms. "Don't start." With the dramatics, he barely fell. "He flew." "He's fine," she said. "Kids fall. He'll survive." I opened my mouth to argue again, but then I saw them. My parents. Walking toward us like they were arriving at a brunch reservation. Mom's purse dangling off her elbow. Dad in that old windbreaker he wore even in summer. They both had matching annoyed expressions, like someone invited them to a show they didn't want to watch. "What's the noise now?" Mom asked, already irritated. I snapped. Brooke pushed Mason off the swing. He could have been seriously hurt. Mom glanced at Brooke first. Of course she did. Brooke, the golden child, the prize daughter, the walking oxygen supply. Brooke shrugged with theatrical innocence. He wasn't listening. Dad scoffed as he reached us. "What, he tripped?" "No," I said. "She pushed him. Look at his elbow." Dad gave it a half-second glance. "He'll live." I felt heat crawl up my neck. "That doesn't make it okay." Mom folded her arms. "Why do you always make everything a crisis? Brooke simply redirected him. If he fell, he fell." "He fell because she shoved him," I shouted. Dad snorted. "Then he needs to learn to hold on better." I blinked, hard. "Hold on. Better?" I repeated. Mom leaned toward Mason, her voice cold enough to frost over the swings. "Fall harder next time, sweetheart. Maybe you'll learn your place." My jaw dropped. "His place?" I whispered. "What place?" Mom straightened. "Brooke's daughter is younger, smaller. She gets priority. It's basic manners." He had the swing first. That doesn't matter, Mom said. Your son is older. He should know how to share. Mason pressed his face into my stomach, shaking quietly. Brooke smirked, leaning on the swing frame. See? Even Mom agrees. Don't start drama, Jess. I looked at all of them. My parents, my sister, my niece happily swinging as if she earned the right to be there, and something hollow opened in my chest. This wasn't new. This was just the first time it happened in public. Flashbacks clawed at me. Mom giving Brooke my birthday money because she'll use it better. Dad taking Brooke's side every time she broke something of mine. Brooke telling me to teach Mason humility when he got a good grade. My parents praising Lily for being special while calling my son average. I swallowed hard. You're unbelievable, I said quietly. All of you. Mom sighed like I was the problem. Stop embarrassing yourself, Dad added. Stop raising your kid to be so fragile. Brooke smirked. Maybe he'll grow tougher if he hits the ground once in a while. My hands shook. My lips trembled from rage, but my voice stayed steady. You think you can treat him however you want, I said softly. You think he'll grow up thinking he's small? Dad shrugged. Kids learn. Their place early. I stared at him, at Brooke, at Mom, at Lily. Then I looked down at my son, bruised, quiet, trying so hard to seem okay. And something in me that had been quiet for far too long cracked open. You're wrong, I whispered. None of them heard the warning in my tone, but they would. Because this time the revenge brewing inside me wasn't silent, wasn't symbolic, wasn't poetic. It was real. It was already taking shape. And it was going to hit harder than any shove on a swing ever could. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Mason on the ground again, his tiny hands scraped, his breath knocked out, his shock turning into confusion and then shame. Shame. An 8-year-old feeling shame because grown adults told him he should learn his place. What place? Under their feet? Under Brooke's daughter? Under the golden pedestal my parents polished every day for my sister? I sat on the couch staring at the TV on mute while Mason slept curled against me. His elbow was bandaged now, his hair still smelling faintly like the park mulch. Around 2 a.m., he mumbled in his sleep. Mom, I didn't mean to fall. My chest caved in. I ran a hand through his hair. Baby, you didn't do anything wrong. But he didn't hear me. By sunrise, something inside me had changed. Not a spark, not a whisper, something bigger, like a dam finally breaking after years of pressure. I packed our bags, not to move out, not to run away, not to disappear dramatically. I packed because I had a plan that didn't require police, or public exposure, or poetic karma, or symbolic metaphors, real consequences, real impact, real accountability. The kind you feel in your bones. By the time Mason woke up, rubbing his eyes and looking embarrassed about last night, my decision was final. We drove straight to my parents' house. I wasn't here to fight. I wasn't here to argue. I was here for the next part of the plan. Mom opened the door, already annoyed. Why are you here so early? Dad walked in from the kitchen, sipping coffee, muttering, Can't let anything go, can she? Brooke was at the dining table with Lily, both eating pancakes like the world worshipped them. Brooke didn't even look up. Lily, swinging her little legs, said, Mommy, that boy fell off the swing yesterday. Brooke giggled. Some kids are just clumsy, darling, not like you. Mason's face flushed red with humiliation. My jaw clenched, but I stayed calm. I came to talk, I said. Dad snorted. Oh boy. Mom crossed her arms. If this is about the swing, it's not, I cut in. Actually, it's much bigger. Dad rolled his eyes. Everything is bigger with you. But then something unexpected happened. Mason stepped forward. He didn't hide behind me. He didn't lower his chin. He didn't shrink. His voice shook, but he spoke. You hurt me. The room went silent. Brooke blinked slowly. What are you talking about? You pushed me, he said, his fingers twisting nervously. And it scared me. My parents stared at him with the same expression they used when the TV volume was too loud. I put a hand on Mason's shoulder. Tell them the rest. He swallowed hard. You told me to fall harder next time. Dad sipped his coffee without flinching. And? Mason flinched at that one small word. Mom added, Life won't baby you. Better you learn early. Brooke leaned back in her chair. Honestly, Jess, it wasn't a big deal. Kids fall. You're dragging this. Something snapped in me again. Not the same crack as yesterday, but a cleaner one, a sharper one. Okay, I said simply. I just wanted to hear it, to see if any one of you would take responsibility. Dad shrugged. Mom looked bored. Brooke checked her phone. Lily slurped her syrup. Perfect. So none of you feel guilty? I asked softly. Dad slapped his newspaper down. For what? Raising you to stop being weak? Mom muttered. You've always been dramatic. Brooke smirked. You're overreacting like always. I nodded slowly. Good, I said. Then I don't need to hold back. Brooke finally looked up. What does that mean? I pulled a folder from my bag and set it on the table. Everything I needed, I said, for step 1. Dad frowned. What the hell is this? Mom leaned forward suspiciously. Jess, what are you doing? Brooke's face tightened. What's in that? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Dad opened it first, and his entire expression shifted from arrogance to confusion to anger to something he rarely felt. Fear. What is this? He barked. I crossed my arms. Records. Mom's voice cracked slightly. Records of what? Property records, I said. Bank statements, business contracts, liens, permits, violations, tax filings. Brooke stood up abruptly. Why do you have that? Because, I said, calm and cold, you shouldn't push people you think are weak. You never know what they can do. Dad's voice boomed. You have no right to look into our finances. I smiled, small, controlled, dangerous. I didn't look into your finances, I said. I got them from someone you forgot existed. Mom blinked. Who? I pointed. To the only honest person in this house. Everyone turned their heads. At Mason. Dad choked. Him? What the hell could he do? Mason looked up, nervous but brave. I didn't do anything. I just told Mom someone kept knocking on our door yesterday, a man with papers. Brooke stiffened instantly. Mom froze. Dad went silent. Yes. That man. The one they ignored. The one they pretended wasn't warning them. The one whose paperwork they tore up. You should have read what he brought, I said. Because I did. Dad whispered harshly. Jess. What exactly did you do? I took a slow breath. This is only step 1, I said. And trust me, it gets worse. The room went dead quiet. Mason grabbed my hand, and for the first time, he didn't look afraid. My parents, however, they looked terrified. And Brooke, perfect, polished, untouchable Brooke, suddenly looked like she wanted to crawl out of her own skin. I wasn't done. Not even close. This wasn't revenge yet. This was just leverage. Revenge was coming next. Loud, deliberate, unmistakable. And none of them were going to see it coming. Dad was the first one to explode. You think you can threaten us with paperwork? You're out of your mind, Jess, Mom hissed. You wouldn't dare do anything. Family doesn't destroy family. Brooke muttered. You're not even capable of... I lifted a hand and all 3 of them stopped. You all made one mistake, I said calmly. You assumed I'd stay the scared version of myself forever. Brooke scoffed. What are you going to do? Cry to someone? I didn't respond. Instead, I walked over to the counter, grabbed my phone, hit speaker, and tapped a contact. A man answered instantly. Jessica, I was waiting for your call. My parents stiffened. Brooke froze mid-breath. Even Mason watched, wide-eyed. Hi, Mr. Larson, I said, loud enough for the room. Everything is ready. You can proceed. Dad lunged forward. Proceed with what? But the voice kept talking. Perfect. The team is already on the way. They'll be there in 15 minutes. And Jessica, Thank you for reporting everything properly. You probably saved yourself a disaster. Mom's face went pure white. Brooke grabbed the chair to steady herself. Dad whispered, "Jessica, what the hell did you do?" I hung up the call slowly. Then I set the folder on the table again, tapping the top page with my finger. "These," I said, "aren't just bank statements and permits. They're warnings your family ignored. For years." Dad shook his head. No, those weren't real." "They were," I said. "Your shop, your rental units, your storage facility, all of it, violations stacked so high that one more complaint would trigger a mandatory shutdown." Mom grabbed the folder with shaking hands. "Jessica, baby, let's talk." "You had years to talk," I said. "Years to apologize. Years to treat Mason like a human. Years to treat me like your daughter." Brooke snapped. "You turned us in? You?" "No," I said, correcting her softly. "You turned yourselves in. I just stopped covering for you." Dad's voice broke. "You didn't have to ruin us." I looked at Mason, the bruises on his elbow, his shoes scuffed from the fall, his shoulders pulled upward, guarding himself, his eyes finally watching me with something he hadn't felt in a long time. Safety. "I didn't ruin you," I said. "I protected my son. Sirens didn't come. This wasn't a police scene. But the SUVs that pulled up outside, the municipal vans with inspection seals, the officers carrying clipboards and cameras, those were real." Brooke ran to the window. No, they can't shut everything down. Dad, do something." Dad's knees buckled. Mom clutched her mouth. The knock on the door echoed through the whole house. I opened it myself. Mr. Larson stood there with his team. "We need to speak with the property owner," he said. I stepped aside. Dad didn't move at first. Then he stumbled forward, looking 10 years older. Mom followed, crying. Brooke hovered behind them, pale. For the next 30 minutes, they were questioned, documented, and handed official notices. Not jail, not humiliation, not public exposure, real consequences, paperwork, fines, closures, audits, mandatory repairs, the kind that tear people apart from the inside, slowly and painfully, the kind they couldn't ignore, the kind that forced them to face themselves. When the inspectors finally left, the house felt hollow. Dad sat on the couch, defeated. Mom wiped tears from her shaking hands. Brooke stared numbly at the wall. Only then did I speak. "You told Mason to learn his place," I said quietly. "Now you learn yours." Nobody argued, nobody insulted me, nobody called me dramatic. They couldn't, because they finally realized something. I wasn't weak, I wasn't silent, and I wasn't theirs to crush anymore. I took Mason's hand and walked toward the door. Brooke whispered, voice cracked, "Jess, are you ever coming back?" I didn't look back. "No," I said. "You pushed us out of your family. I just finally listened." I walked out with my son, the door closing softly behind us, leaving them in the wreckage they built themselves. The world outside felt warmer. Mason squeezed my hand. "Mom, are we safe now?" I leaned down and kissed his head. "Yeah," I said. "We are now." And for the first time in years, I believed it. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.